Hi. Have you ever been asked to do something that was completely out of your comfort range? I have many times in my life, and one thing I've discovered is that when I'm desiring for God to do something new in me, He tends to want to break me out of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? That place that is like, oh, I don't know, warm, fuzzy slippers, a big, huge, nice, thick bathrobe, and don't forget that awesome chair. You know the one I mean. I have one. I like to go sit there, get my Bible, do whatever it is that I want to do, and just kick back and chill. And all because you've been there before. It's something that is comfortable for you. But you know what? You happen to like the ambiance, you happen to like the way it feels, how comfortable it is, and even convenient. Yeah, we are all about convenience, aren't we? But then God decides to do something that kind of flips the page and throws us out where we're not familiar with. I was looking in Ruth Today, chapter 1, and it tells us the story of how Ruth joined with her mother-in-law and returned to the land that Naomi came from. And I think that for Ruth, she had to think out of the box. It wasn't something that she had planned to do. It wasn't something that she was even comfortable with. She was living in her home in Moab, that place where she was raised up. She met her husband. They had just celebrated 10 years of marriage, and then he dies. But it wasn't just him. It was also her brother-in-law, her father-in-law. In just a short period of time, the whole family was turned into upheaval. Now, I don't know about you, but grieving is not something that is even easy to consider or to walk out, especially when it's a loved one that you're very close with and you're celebrating either 10 years or maybe a child or a grandparent or even a parent. I think it's just hard no matter what you look at. And all of a sudden, her world was turned upside down, literally just completely flipped, and she had to make a decision. She could let those circumstances of discomfort, pain, unfamiliarity, the grief that had to have been overwhelming to her. She had a choice to let it consume her, or she had a choice to let it propel her. And I think that a lot of times we forget that circumstances that come our way have the opportunity to either consume or to propel. Now, we know that she chose to go with Naomi and to return to land that Naomi was from. And I just wondered, I was thinking today as I was reading, what would have happened if she had decided to stay? Well, number one, she was a Gentile. She was not from the Hebrew line. So here we have a woman that was a Gentile married to an Israelite. And she was in the line of Christ, the bloodline of Christ. So it's a beautiful thing to even see way back then, God was setting a pattern of how He was going to restore both Gentile and Jew as one, grafted into the family of God. And if Ruth had decided to let the circumstances consume her and stop her in her tracks, then how would that have played out? It's just something to consider. One of my favorite scriptures is found in Isaiah 43:19. It says, "For I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness, and I will create rivers in the dry wasteland." I think I like this so much because it speaks so much to hope. That even though God is wanting to take me out of a comfort zone, He is going to provide what is needed to solve and to bring me to that new level. And, it's a wilderness can be a dry place. It can be a place of discomfort in many ways. But yet He says, I'll give you the pathway through the wilderness. And not only that, but I'm going to create rivers in that wasteland. And sometimes the circumstances that we face feel like a wasteland. It feels like the desert. It feels dry. We feel away from God. We feel separated from other people. And That's not God's plan. His plan is for us to trust him. His plan is us to know that no matter how bad the circumstances are, or even how good they are, that he has a desire and he has a plan. And he just wants the opportunity to reveal himself in those circumstances. It's so easy to get sidetracked by the uncertainty of the new that can happen in our lives. Often I find myself saying, can't things get back to normal, please? It's just sometimes it can be so overwhelming. But if God allows us to go back to normal, then we're not really fulfilling his best in us, because he's all about bringing new into our lives. I often think that he probably gets a little bit tired of me putting the brakes on and saying, wait, God, wait, you're just moving too fast. Or putting the pedal on and saying, God, you're going too slow. Isn't it amazing how I can tell God what to do? Well, that's a misnomer, because we can't. God is God. He's above us. He's beyond everything that we are. He has so much things for us that is special. And I think that if we allow those circumstances that we are in at current to hinder us and hold us back, then we're robbing ourselves of something that is absolutely beautiful and fulfilling, that we may not see what took place until years down the line. Now, you can choose to allow those circumstances to dictate to you the outcome, or you can choose to dictate to the circumstances your reaction. You can determine how you're going to respond. And sometimes it's not an easy thing to respond positively. I just received a phone call from my sister-in-law, and it was funny because I was thinking about sharing this with you. And what did she call me about? But about the comfort zone issues. She said I could tell you. I think everybody struggles with this. I don't think this is just something that is random. It's because God created us to be different. He created us to walk in a different way, to talk in a different way, to react to things in a different way. And because we live in the world, we tend to allow the world to form our reactions by our words, by our deeds, by what we do, what we don't do, how we do it, how we don't do it. I think it's so important for us to do what he says. He says, see, don't you see? Our eyes can be so blinded by our circumstances. And when I was younger, I sang a song that had words that said, let me see this world, dear Lord, as though I was looking through your eyes. And many times over the years, I've contemplated that. In this circumstance, how are you looking at it, Lord? Are you looking at it the same way I'm looking at it? Am I seeing it through your eyes, or am I choosing to see it through a different set of eyes? I don't know about you, but I'd kind of rather it be the eyes of the Lord. I also thought today, as I was reading Ruth chapter 1, how many different times in my life God has presented something new to me. And I had to make a choice. Did I want to stay in that place of comfort, or did I want to allow him to stretch me? I can tell you without fail that there was times that I decided to stay in the comfort zone. And I really believe I missed out because of it. And I think you probably understand what I'm talking about. I am reminded of a circumstance that happened a few years ago. Through a very unusual situation, I connected with a minister that is in Pakistan, and we spent time praying over the internet with each other and sharing scripture and sermons and a lot of different opportunities of personal growth in both that minister and myself. And he kept asking me to do a video, kind of like what we're doing now, that he could take into the community and show it and pray that somebody would come to Christ as a result of this. And, I talked with him a lot, and it was an exciting thing to consider, but as simple as it was not something I was comfortable with. And as simple as it was, I really didn't know how to even start or what to say because it was a different country. How would we deal with the video being interpreted or having time? So I just kind of kept it at bay, and every time he'd ask, oh, yeah, I'll get to it. Well, guess what? I finally, one day, it just wouldn't end. And I went down and I did a very simple 12-minute video, and I called it The Good News of Jesus Christ. I would not want you to see it. It was boring as anything to an American, but it gave them the opportunity to do interpretation. And the thing about it is, they've taken it into over 30 communities. 30. Maybe even more by now. And out of that 30 communities, there's been over 40,000 salvations. That's mind-boggling to me. 40,000. And I sit here and I think, God, if I had remained in the comfort zone, what would have happened to those 40,000? His heart is for us not only to grow, but to let others see him in us, to be touched by him in us. And I don't think that you sitting here looking at me and listening to me is a happenstance. For some reason, you took the time. I can only pray that it becomes an encouragement to you to step out and step up. He's calling you to something better. He's calling you to something bigger. And it may not feel that way because you're a mom at home, or you're locked in a specific job, or we can always come up with excuses of why we cannot do something. But I'm telling you, God will make a river in the wasteland, and he will make a way through that desert. He's just looking for us to say okay, to obey, to talk with him about it, to let him take us into something new. So I guess you need to think about it. What area is God asking you to step out of and step up into? What does he want you to do? You remembering that the takeaways for this, the things to think on and contemplate is, God created you to desire relationship, and he wants to be the one to meet that need. He loves us, and he wants us to grow in our spiritual lives, and he'll do whatever he can, provide whatever opportunity he can to help us get to a new level. He's simply asking you to see. He's simply asking you to think that he's got something new for you, something that is broader than you could have thought of, something that is going to explode in your spirit and cause a closeness to him and an excitement, a divine interruption into your daily life. He's just asking you to open your eyes. Be ready for the ride of your life if you'll do this. If you'll make it a habit to say, God, this circumstance, this situation, what is it you want me to learn from this? And what do you want me to do with this? And then be willing to obey. Well, I hope that's helped out a little bit. It's just something that I like to think about. So this is Renee signing off. Remember, you weren't made to be ordinary. You were created to be extraordinary. Bye.